his storytelling debut. As the group sits around in the noonday sun for their precious 15 minutes of joke-telling, which opens with the well-received 183 about the two dogs arguing over proprietorship of a fire hydrant, the novice seizes the moment and abruptly chimes in with 185, an elm tree replacing the hydrant. No reaction, not even a smile. Undaunted, he changes the subject with 273. Dead silence. 3 more vocal thrusts, each a little less heartfelt than the last, yield the same disappointing outcome. Glumly returning to his cell, the dejected detainee flops into his lower berth, sighs, and turns to his mate. "I don't get it. When you told 273 last week, all the guys cracked up. Same deal with 185. What happened with my 185? What did I do wrong?" Following a painful pause and a grimace, the cellmate tells it like it is. "Face it, some guys know how to tell a story, and some just don't." "We can think of a story," writes Ferris Jaber in Harper's Magazine, "as a choreographed hallucination that temporarily displaces reality. Stories have lives of their own. They compel us to share them, and once told, they begin to grow and change. They compete with one another for attention, for the opportunity to reach as many minds as possible. They find each other, intermingle, and multiply. Most effective stories are adaptable, and those skilled at telling them know how to alter characters and sets to appeal to a range of audiences, or what anthropologists call mythic substitution. Take the Highland Andean story of the constellation of the llama and her cría, baby, being stalked by a fox. When the tale spread eastward into the tropical rainforest of the Amazon basin, the carnivore predator fox became a jaguar who chases the herbivore prey, a tapir, across the sky. When it migrated to the foothills between the two ecozones, the tapir was replaced by a deer. Farther south, in the Gran Chaco grasslands of southern Chile and Argentina, the constellation pair became a dog and a rhea, or South American ostrich. Only this time, because of the ostrich's long neck, much like a llama's, pursuer and pursued switched positions in the sky. Stories of creation are commonly termed myths, but the word myth carries a double-barreled definition that bothers me. On the one hand, it's just a story, a traditional story that often addresses a natural phenomenon and involves supernatural beings. On the other hand, a myth is also defined as a false belief based on fantasy or delusion, an all-made-up form of thinking. In that second sense, myth translates as a veiled or fabricated truth, a product of the fanciful imagination waiting to be debunked by science and replaced with real truth. But for people who tell their myths to relate events they experience to beliefs and practices in their daily lives, myths capture a valid and essential truth of the human experience. Take, for example, seasonal festivals like Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, Birthday of the Unconquered Sun, the Roman celebration of the winter solstice. The story behind the holiday likely descends from the 15th century BCE tale of Mithra, the Indo-Iranian god of light, who ventures annually among the constellations of the zodiac. Ever watchful and protective of all who dwell below, he requires people to ask him to renew himself at his lowest point. Such solstice-based festivals have been recognized around the world and endure even today as a time to rejoice that the sun god has reached his critical turning point low in the winter sky. Indeed, it seems that every culture in the world recognizes and celebrates the advent of the seasonal return of natural light at the very time when they need it most, in the dead of winter. Early Christians adapted the Roman Dies Natalis to tell a story about the birth of their Savior, the one who brings light to the world. The climax comes with his death and resurrection during their Easter holiday. And although I would not consider myself a religious person, I too feel joy when, after a long, hard winter, I bear witness to the days warming up, the snow melting, and the first green plants sprouting in my front yard, all thanks to the increasing radiance that occurs when the sun has passed